Well, Kentucky basketball fans, it was a very disappointing effort by Kentucky when they went out to Spokane Arena to play Gonzaga as they fell 88-72 in a pretty embarrassing effort all around. The offense looked bad. The defense gave up easy baskets. They got out-rebounded. Oscar got in foul trouble. Coach Cal got severely outcoached by Mark Few. It was an all-systems failure for the Cats, but we still have to sit here and talk about it. Jack Pilgrim, as you can see, went all the way there, so we certainly want to hear from him since he was in the building. We also have Zach Gagan, who watched it from Lexington. Guys, there's a lot to complain about. Jack, I guess I'll start with you since you were the boots on the ground. Just what was the scene like, and how's the misery there in person?
It was spectacular. The crowd was sensational. You got kind of a giddy Cal before the game started, just kind of soaking it all in. There wasn't an empty seat in the entire arena. The student section was unbelievable. The chants were ridiculous. They were heckling the bench the entire game. I mean, talking about mothers, brothers, sisters, cousins, you're soft, you're weak. They had the whole 9 yards. They did an impeccable job of getting in Kentucky's head. Unfortunately, when the ball was tipped, Kentucky just wasn't up for the challenge, and I think it was pretty telling that after the game, Jacob Toppin flat out said, we didn't have the fight. There were guys that weren't willing to step up, and I think that was a very key thing to keep a very close eye on. You never want to hear those type of things from your, not star players clearly, because Jacob has really struggled to start the year, but veteran players that have been around for a long time, you definitely don't want to hear those type of comments. The we're not ready, the toughness isn't there, those type of things. Not a good look from this team.
I don't know how much the crowd played into that. I know you tweeted out the video that has the F Kentucky chant. That was a nice warm welcome by the Zags. We appreciate that, but I don't know how much impact that really had on the players. Just complete disappointing effort, as I said, on both ends. I mean, you can go right down the list of guys who got burnt defensively. Poor C.J. Frederick got backdoored often for easy buckets. I mean, the Gonzaga shot chart is layups mostly. Zach, did you see anything positive in this game, or do you want to keep complaining?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot here. Trying to talk about something good. I mean, Oscar's still the best player in the country. I think we can at least kind of confirm that, right? But I'll reiterate pretty much everything Jack said. I think the lack of effort just really shocked me. Like, I'm still kind of just shocked at how disinterested that team looked throughout the entire first half and throughout the majority of the second half, outside of like that 6-minute stretch where they were kind of coming back. I mean, you can kind of accept missing shots, even though that's mainly the reason they lost. But probably the reason they were missing shots is they just weren't into the game. No one was into the game except for Oscar Tshiewbe. He was the only one that seemed to care. We heard all the post-game comments from guys like Jacob and how they're not really all together right now, it seems. And I don't know what that means. I don't know what's going on within the locker room, but it kind of sounds like everyone's obviously not on the same page. And you kind of saw it in full swing tonight because there was just no connection, no synergy. It was just give the ball to Oscar and hope he can do something type thing. And that can get you so far, but it can't win you a game against the top five, at least.
The entire first half, it was just pass it around the perimeter and take turns throwing it off the backboard or force it into Oscar, who wasn't getting much done. But they did get some rhythm in the second half, mostly with the lineup we all love, Wallace, Frederick, Reeves. Jack, did they learn anything when they got hot there for a stretch, or was it just a hot hand and it's still the offense is the offense?
What I learned is that Coach Cal said after the game that he didn't run a single play in the first half because they couldn't get into any sets. He flat out said, we did not run any plays in the first half because nobody was moving, nobody was getting into their spots. Gonzaga did a great job of shutting a lot of it down. So that was very telling as well that Cal kind of put his hands in the air and said, what am I supposed to do when they aren't running the plays, when they aren't getting into these situations? He's saying, I had to cut down the rotation. I had to take guys out who weren't fighting. They're not going to be playing moving forward. I can only control what I can control. Just a really telling press conference from start to finish. Just, really told a lot of that story. No, in the second half, I did think that Case and Wallace, I know Oscar was kind of the star of the show. If you were to single out any stars in this type of disappointing performance. But I thought Kaysen played really, really well. He saved the day in a lot of different ways, diving for loose balls, coming up with turnovers that really kind of put Kentucky in a position to make that run. So if you want to give a superlative for this game, I guess you can go ahead and give one to Kaysen. But just you don't know what you learn. I really don't know what we learned about this team outside of maybe they're just not ready for this moment, and that's kind of a disappointing thing considering how excited we all were 2 weeks ago.
What do we make of Jacob Toppin? Because at one point I wanted him to go to the bench and never come back, and then he hit about 5 straight mid-range jumpers that they were just letting him shoot. I think he ended up 7 of 18 from the field, a lot of shots for him. That has to be a career high. But 0 for 4 three-point land. Very hot and cold, but when he was hot, he was very hot. Do we want more of that mid-range? Because normally I don't like seeing that.
Well, I'm going to take this one because I've got some issues with Jacob's shot selection. Even though he hit all those at the end, those NBA shots, I hated every single one that went up, and I hated even more when they all went in because he's just going to keep taking those shots, and 16 points on 18 shots, half of those were probably the exact same mid-range shot. That's not an efficient shot. It has a very small chance of going in compared to all of his other shots that he's good at, even the threes that he was missing. I'd rather him shoot those. He's going to clank off the side of the backboard. But it just seems like a confidence issue for him, and he was just trying to shoot himself back into the game. And that's fine, I guess, if you want to try and do that. But the only reason that it worked is because Kentucky was down 15, and they really had no other choice but to just say, all right, Oscar's in foul trouble. It's clearly not working with him. Jacob, I guess just go ahead and do your thing, try and shoot all these contested jumpers. And Gonzaga was probably like, sure, you can shoot another 15 of them because you're probably –
Mark, you said it after the game. He said exactly that. He said that's what we consider a tough 2, and we were willing to give him those. And he said, flat out, we're good on him. It's, if he's going to make them, then we're going to keep giving it to him. But
good on Jacob for making those shots and maybe helping his draft stock for the few NBA scouts that were watching him tonight. But it was – and he was also part of the defensive issues and just the lack of energy in the beginning, which you can't have from a guy like him who's supposed to be your leader, and then saying things in the post game, kind of throwing himself and the team, his player or teammates under the bus as well. But he's just got to be better is really kind of what it boils down to for him.
Also, 3 rebounds in 36 minutes for him. He's too athletic to have 3 rebounds playing nearly the entire game. We could do an hour of complaining because really nothing went well. But just overall, what the hell does this mean? Because we were so excited. We were so excited to put St. Peter's and all that BS behind us. We thought we had the Champions Classic would be a win. It was a win up until there were 5 minutes left. They squatted that away in double overtime. Thursday didn't matter. That team sucked. But now you're 0-2 against teams that know how to dribble basketball right now. Like, how do we get fired up to move forward? I know we're not overreacting. The season's not over, but it just feels like all the excitement and the energy going into the year has just been completely wiped away.
Well, and the issue is when you have if you get a 1 seed, you get a spot in Louisville in March Madness, and that is kind of what games like this don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Regular season games are irrelevant until we get to the bulk of the SEC schedule and all that. But if you want to play your way into a number 1 seed, games like this you had to win this game, or you had to win against Michigan State. You couldn't lose both of them. And now you look at the schedule: North Florida coming up, Bellarmine, 2 games that mean nothing in the grand scheme of things. That trip to London against Michigan, yeah, maybe that's clearly a must win at this point for seeding purposes. Then UCLA, thankfully that they're finally living up to their status in that whatever that CBS Sports Classic, that god-awful event. At least they're finally living up to that standard, and that's a high-quality matchup that you have to win. But now we're approaching must-win territory in these games that matter, and the Louisville game's coming up, and the SEC plays there. You're just really running out of opportunities for quality wins to kind of build a resume for that number 1 spot. Now Louisville could be out of the picture with 2 ugly losses in the first 5 games of the season. So just that part is just really deflating, where it's like a season that you saw that number 1 seed line right there in Louisville just kind of teed up for you. And now there's a very, very clear question if that's even a possibility.
Well, it seems somehow with a very experienced team that had extra practices in the Bahamas, somehow it's a mess. We're pointing fingers. There's no offense. Cal's saying the same stuff about not having enough time. I still don't understand how they haven't had time the whole most of the team played last year. They had extra practices. I know Oscar's missed a few, but why are we throwing Oscar under the bus tonight after press conference? It just seems to be like a complete mess at this point. Hopefully they get back on board North Florida. That shouldn't be a problem, but it's been a lot of the same issues, and I think the groans are going to get much louder at this point, Zach.
Yeah, the Oscar with Cal keeps saying that he hasn't practiced in 4 weeks. Well, there's 12 other guys on the team. I'm pretty sure they've all been practicing for the exact same amount of time. So I don't really buy that excuse. They had all the Bahamas stuff too. So I'm not really sure I agree with that they haven't practiced all. I just don't think that's real. But if I am going to throw one positive out here, I think it's not like Kentucky's not talented. Like they have good players and good pieces. You can fix things, like you can start making shots one game. Like there will be a game, I assume, against a decent opponent where CJ and Antonio Reeves, shoot 50% from three, and Jack's looking at me like, maybe, yeah,
I hope.
You're stupid.
Please.
We're 0 for 2 now, and
talking into existence here myself, but and you can fix effort. Like you just got to go out there and try. You just got to care and give a damn.
Mm-hmm.
So that didn't happen tonight. There was a point in the first half where Kentucky was 0 for 9 from three. If they made 2 or 3 of those, it was a 5-point game instead of being as demoralizing as it seems. So I don't think that's a too much of a bright side, but I'm here to give at least a little bit of rainbow sunshine to pump for you all. Someone's got to.
Well, thank you for bringing the rainbow and sunshine. Jack, what rainbow and sunshine is in your future? As you can see, I'm a little red. I got too much sunshine while I was away. At least tell me you have some fun ahead after you watched some horrible basketball tonight.
I started my vacation out in the western part of the state. We went whale watching. We went to the rainforest and the beach out on the Pacific coast. Unbelievable state. I mean, again, this event in itself was unbelievable. This is what makes college basketball so great. Events like this, and I thought like the scenery was amazing. I thought the stage was set up perfectly. I thought the venue was amazing. The fans were incredible. Everything about this trip was supposed to be amazing, and it was. Outside of the fact that Kentucky just didn't get off the bus. That part is just really frustrating, that everything was kind of building up to this, unbelievable event. We've, heard about the back and forth, Gonzaga trying to schedule Kentucky not wanting to do it. Then Cal finally gets on the phone, makes it happen. It just felt like we were building up for this, massive clash of the titans, I guess, of the, kind of current modern cool program that everybody's fallen in love with in Gonzaga, and Kentucky being the, the OG, blue blood that everybody loves. So I was just hoping for the final kind of push to send my vacation, off in a very positive way. But unfortunately, Kentucky didn't show up, and now we have to be talking in negatives and think of what ifs of awfulness in the future. So at least the rest of the trip has been fun, but tonight was not.
Well, safe travels heading back when you can. We'll get ready for the Ospreys at 4:00 on Wednesday. North Florida, big bounce back game. Shouldn't be any troubles there, but at least get some confidence behind the Wildcats moving forward before they play another difficult opponent. But for now, we'll let Jack go. Same for you, Zach. This has been the KSR Rapid Reaction. Go Cats, even though they let us down tonight.